Hi, it's Miss Smith here with you again for another amazing workshop. Let's keep ourselves knowledgeable and in the know about ways that we can support our students in STEM and STEAM. So, I want to ask you a question today. What is your why? Yes. What is your why? What are your students' why in what they do in STEM and STEAM, in particular, project-based learning? Today, we're going to take some time to talk about social action and empathy in STEM and STEAM PBLs. So yes, it's me, Natasha Smith, your Georgia DOE STEM STEAM virtual specialist. I'm currently at Evelyn C. West Elementary School in Fairburn, Georgia, as the STEM coordinator and instructional math coach. You can always get in contact with me at smithnt1 at fultonschools.org or give me a call at 470-254-3461. Need a little extra help with integrating science into your STEAM projects, or you just want some deeper understanding and resources for science? You can find me at Georgia Science Teachers Association as the District 4 Director. So we're going to jump right in and get started. So what is social action? What is social action when we think about projects in STEM and STEAM? A social action project, it prepares students to identify, plan, and carry out solutions to problems within their school, community, and even beyond that. The goal of a social action project is to have active citizenship through thoughtful, cooperative, critically engaging, and responsible action. That key word is action. You want the students to be able to do something that makes a difference, solve a problem that makes a difference, and not do it alone, but work and collaborate together to get those things done. You want them to be not only good citizens, but active citizens in their community. So let's look a little closer at some key points with a social action project. So we have many STEM and STEAM projects, amazing STEM and STEAM projects. But have you ever stopped to think, is there a social action piece in them? Are the students helping others? Are they making a difference in our school or our community? Well, during social action projects, as an add-on to STEM STEAM project-based learning, students work cooperatively with other students on initiatives they help to identify, plan, and direct. Now that's a key point right there. The students help to identify. Many times we have problems where your STEM team or your grade level group of teachers, you may identify the problem and you kind of bring it to the students. But we want to give students opportunity to take a glance at the community or at their school, and we want them to identify some problems that may exist. And then they begin to plan and direct their learning. Another point for social action projects. A social action project prepares students to identify, plan, and carry out solutions to problems within their school, community, and beyond. So again, once they're identifying these problems, we want to ensure that they have the opportunity to come up with solutions. Their solutions could all be different. They could be working in small groups, collaborating to come up with solutions to their problems. Sky is the limit with the solutions to their problems, and we want them to know that. That's very important as well with the social action project. The ultimate goal is active citizenship through thoughtful, cooperative, critical, engaging, and responsible action. And I like to key in on that word responsible action. It's also teaching students to take actions that are responsible, that we make our actions something that we can be kind to others, that we can support what we believe, but also be considerate and respectful. So it's teaching the student to grow and be able to function out in the real world as they move towards middle school, high school, and adult life. Now, with the social action project, students will gain a few things. They'll acquire important abilities and dispositions. When I say that, they're identifying, planning, and implementing an action. They develop important skills, including problem solving, conflict resolution, and the one we want to focus on today, empathy. They learn to care. They learn that it's okay to care. They learn that caring exists. They also learn to increase their understanding of curriculum content. Yes, we get to master those standards. The action projects provide a means of integrating grade level standards. We still have the opportunity to integrate those science, math, ELA, and many times social studies standards as we move through a social action project. Social action projects also empower their personal and collective capabilities. They learn responsible ways to address issues. Everyone can play a role in social change. Everyone can give their part. And ultimately, they contribute to the betterment of society. Just imagine all the way to kindergarten. They learn that their community actions have a broader impact on society as a whole. So when they're helping the community in that small pocket or their school in that small pocket, ultimately, they're moving towards helping a whole society, the whole world. So now let's talk a little bit about empathy. I keyed in on that when we talked about those social action projects. Well, that social action brings out that empathy. Empathy is the capacity to understand or feel what another person is experiencing. It is the ability to place oneself in another's position. Sometimes as adults, we have a hard time placing ourselves in someone else's position. We want students to understand that everyone comes from different walks of life. Everyone has different things that are good, things that they may be working on, things that they may be struggling through. And we want to teach students to be understanding of that. We want to teach them to develop empathy. And we don't have to do this in isolation. We can do this through our STEM and STEAM projects. So, how can you teach empathy through STEM and STEAM? Well, one way is to bring empathy into a STEM classroom is through purposeful questions. These questions create meaningful scenarios and allow students to gain broader perspectives of their world. That's one way. You can also integrate reading standards into your STEM, STEAM PBLs that focus on character to teach empathy. So we become very strategic and we're purposeful with the questions that we choose and also the standards that we choose, especially in reading, that focus on character traits. Another way is allow your students to share their personal stories. Allow them to talk and to speak out if that's something that they're comfortable with doing. Sometimes when they share their stories, students can hear different perspectives of how other students may have experienced different situations. And that helps to hear that problems may exist and be the change. Another way is when there is a conflict within your classroom or within your school, have a plan for solution-driven conversations. So how as educators can we develop conversations that go towards solutions? Because conflicts will exist. Students come from different walks of life, different households, different situations, and you want them to be able to talk about it so that they can develop solutions to different problems that may be associated with STEM and STEAM. As a class, take the time to focus on one feeling at a time. I've talked before in other workshops about STEM and STEAM PBLs. They're not meant to be done quickly. They last over a period of time, giving you an opportunity to really dig deep into the STEM or STEAM problem and develop different solutions that students come up with. Last but not least, we want to teach students to accept each other's individual feelings, accept people for who they are. When we take these actions and we have them in our classroom, we build a positive environment. The students are comfortable to do these things. So I talked about questions to build empathy. So I thought what better to do than give you a few questions in this presentation that you will have access to that you can use in your classroom right now. Some of the questions will be, why would someone draw a different conclusion from the same set of data? So we talk about STEM and STEAM, and we know that many of our problems that we identify come from data. We teach students to be able to identify data and to be able to read it. And you ask the students, well, why would someone look at the data in this way, and why would someone else look at it in this way? Or why does this student see this, but this student see that? Another question, why would another student have a different hypothesis than you? Could be from different walks of life. Could be from things they experience that's leading to their STEM, STEAM, project-based learning question or problem. Why is it important to consider another person's perspective when reviewing their findings? Have them answer that, because there's different solutions. There's different ways that we can help, that we can make a change, that we can make things better in our community. How will what we're building possibly help or harm people? Think about that. We come up with these solutions, but we want to ensure that it's not going to harm people. We want to make sure that it helps people. A last question is, are there people who are using what I'm engineering that might not understand it? So are students coming up with engineering different devices or products that others may not understand? How can I help them to see my perspective? This will be all part of the plan in your STEM or STEAM PBL. Being very detailed in understanding of the products or the solutions that they're coming up with to solve particular problems. So I want to take a moment and share a couple of pieces of PBLs at my school and how we show empathy in social action. So here you see it. Show me the empathy in social action. Well, right here you see myself and my assistant principal, Mrs. Meeker. We're talking with 2 third-grade students who have developed a plan, a blueprint of tiny houses. Well, the students went to the counselor and they wanted to know a little bit more about people who are less fortunate at our school and in our community. The people that she may have to help a little more in our community and in our school. They began to think, well, if those people didn't have such high bills, if they didn't have so many things to pay, then maybe they wouldn't struggle so much. So these third graders use area and perimeter to build a model of a tiny home, and they also use their knowledge of heat, connected it with solar panels, and decided to put solar panels on the tiny houses so that they could get more energy from the sun, therefore reducing their electricity bills. So the students have come to the front office now that their plan is ready. They're showing them to myself as the STEM coordinator and our assistant principal, but you know why? Because her brother is a builder, and they want to convince her to invite her brother to the school to help them build a larger model of the tiny home, or in fact, build one tiny home to put on our campus that the mayor and other builders can come, that they can convince them to put some tiny homes in Fairburn, Georgia. Let's look at another example. Students here show empathy and social action, and it's not always for people. These students want to save the honeybees. They realize, these second graders, learning about life cycles and pollination and pollinators and how they help to make sure that food grows, that we got to save the honeybees. We don't want to kill all the honeybees because they're the reason we have food. So not only are they saving the honeybees, they're also ensuring that humans still have produce. These students are focused on their bee boxes and bee hotels that they've built, integrating those science standards as well as those measurement standards in math. They care, and that's what we want them to do. Care, show empathy, and have a social action piece that they're doing to help the community. Let's look at one more. Show me the empathy and social action. These are kindergarten students, and they found out that some children just don't get toys during the holidays, during Christmas time. And they read stories. Literacy was brought in about a little girl that just didn't get much for Christmas or nothing at all. And so they are building toys to bring joy. These students are using recycled materials to build toys to sell at STEM night and taking the money that they earn and donating it to Toys for Tots. Yes, Marines will come pick up the money and they will donate it to them so that they can buy toys for less fortunate children. Here you see me talking to a little girl about a doll that she made because she wanted to build a toy that brings joy to students who may not get things for the holidays. Again, empathy and social action. So now I have a special treat for you. I have our amazing STEM counselor here to tell you even more about empathy and social action and how she plays the biggest part in our STEM PBLs with our empathy and social action. Because of her, students can easily identify problems in our community. She builds that through her counseling sessions and the time she spends with students. I can honestly say that our STEM program wouldn't be as amazing as it is without her. So sit back and enjoy a small video from our amazing counselor, Mrs. Harrison.
Hi, I'm Demetrius Harrison, the school counselor here at Evelyn C. West Elementary School. I'm so excited to be with you today to share with you how, as a school counselor, an elementary school counselor, how do I support our STEM program? Well, let me get started. When I look as a school counselor, my professional belief is that as school counselors, we help to create the whole child. When we look at creating that whole child, there are some things that it encompasses. A whole child, in my professional opinion, is a student who's able to self-regulate in a healthy way, self-regulate those emotions in a healthy way. A student who is able to collaborate with others in a healthy manner as well. I look at a whole child as that student who is able to practice cognitive strengths as well. I look at a student who is able to problem solve not only social situations, but use those same problem solving skills when they have to create or problem solve cognitively. So looking at all of those key elements, I feel that we have created the whole child. And that's where the magic takes place here in this school counseling program in relations to our STEM program. Because in the end, we know that any educator, we know that our overall goal is to create this student, is to help foster this student who can go out into this world, be creative, practice, have healthy social skills, thus making the world a better place, right? Those are the human beings that we are charged with creating. So, how do I help students with how do I help students with regulating their emotions and supporting the STEM program here at EC West? Well, I researched and I found that in my research that using their cognitive abilities and using their creative abilities, that students, those two things can help a student calm down when they are heightened with emotionality. So some of the things that we use are puzzles. We have a lot of puzzles, and these are STEM puzzles in which the students are able to be distracted from whatever those things that cause them to their emotionality to heighten. They're able to refocus through puzzles and things of that nature. Also, so there's a lot of different STEM puzzles that you can find anywhere. So this is one way that we help students to self-regulate. After they are calm, we can then talk and we can go through our problem-solving technique, which leads me to my next point. Problem-solving. Here as a school counseling program, problem-solving is one of the really key elements that I focus on helping the students to develop while they're here at EC West. So we do a lot of problem solving. Do I solve those problems? Of course we don't, right? But we take them through the problem solving steps in which they're able to learn how to solve their own problems. Then the students can then transfer those problem-solving steps that they've used to solve these social problems. They then know that when it's time to problem solve in the classrooms with in an academic situation, they're able to say, hey, I remember, those problem-solving steps, and then they're able to incorporate them in the classroom cognitively as well. So that's another way in which we collaborate our STEM program and our school counseling program. Another thing that we use is empathy. Basically, empathy is that key element. It's that foundation that our students use in solving any problem. When our students are charged with their PBLs, or project-based learning projects, the first step is creating that driving question. When our students are creating those driving questions, they know that it takes a level of empathy to come up with a driving question, come up with a solution, so that whatever they're looking at is going to contribute to making the world a better place. Well, how can we even begin to think about making the world a better place if we're not understanding how others feel? So we all know that empathy simply involves truly understanding how another person feels, right? So when our students are creating their driving questions, they know that whatever they're trying to create is not for self-gain. It is truly to what can they contribute, what can they create to solve a problem in the world. And so in order to solve that problem in the world, they have to understand what that problem or how that problem is making others feel. So empathy is a very big element in our PBLs. So of course, in my counseling curriculum, empathy is one of the first lessons that we focus on. Not only one of the first lessons that we focus on, but empathy is something that we focus on throughout their career, throughout their matriculation through EC West. So our students are constantly reminded, how does what you do, how do the choices you make other people feel? And so they take that same element in creating their PBLs. For example, one of our PBLs involved students creating a kindness streak. And so, of course, the driving question involves students being deemed with what is something we can create here at EC West that could possibly add an element of kindness to our culture here. For example, if we have a student who is feeling bad or feeling hopeless about a situation, maybe they failed a test and they feel hopeless, what can they do? Where could they go to feel better? And one of those places that we created here at EC West is the kindness tree. And what we did with the kindness tree, you can see the rocks here. Some of them are worn. We haven't worked on it since last school year, so a lot of the weathering has taken place and taken off a lot of our paint and our wording from these rocks. But I went and grabbed some today. So if a student was feeling, experiencing an emotion that's not so pleasant, they could visit the kindness tree and draw from and draw some hope from that kindness tree. For example, if they're feeling not so pretty, they may come across a rock that says, "You are beautiful." And so your rock, your contribution to that kindness tree has right there helped inspire a person to feel better about themselves. So that's one of the activities that we've done here at EC West through the counseling program. We've also, let me share another PBL. Our third grade students, one of their driving questions asks, how can we act as a solution to pollution for plants and animals in Georgia? So before you can even try to come up with something that to solve that problem, you have to first understand, how do the plants and animals feel when they're experiencing a polluted environment? So when the students, after the students understand that those plants and animals, how pollution may make them feel, they put themselves in those plants, in those animal shoes, then they're able to come up with something very substantial to solve that issue. Because we know that as humans, we all have the basic need of feeling, of wanting to feel comfortable, right? And so as a plant and animal, what solutions can we come up to help eliminate pollution, which normally make a person or a thing or an animal feel uncomfortable? So that is pretty much what we do here with the school counseling program, how we collaborate and how we make those two disciplines work together to, of course, create the whole child, and thus, in the end, creating a world that's more livable, more enjoyable, and more kind. Thank you for listening today. You enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that you've been inspired if you are thinking about encompassing STEM into your counseling program, that you've been inspired to do so, because it really does work. Thank you.
I want to again say thank you to Ms. Harrison. What an awesome job. What an awesome STEM counselor. That leads me right into some key points, excuse me, and takeaways that she mentioned. So one thing to remember, my counselors that may be out there listening, and things that other educators may want to take back to the counselors, we want to make sure that we build the whole child. We also want to make sure that we build empathy, and students know that things that they do are not for self-gain. We want to teach empathy at the beginning of the school year and throughout the school year. Those are some key points that Ms. Harrison mentioned, and I think those are important. The students take these things from their counseling session and they transfer it into their classroom when they're talking with each other and they're thinking about the different problems in our world and how they can be a change through planning, creating, improving, all through that engineer design process, all for a good reason. So are you a counselor or another educator that may have more questions for Ms. Harrison? You're welcome to email her at harrisond@fultonschools.org and tell her that Ms. Smith sent you. She'll be looking forward to any questions that she can answer to support your school and your counselors. So, be sure to stay in touch. Today we talked about social action and empathy and the importance of it in our STEM and STEAM PBLs. We know that if these things are included in our STEM and STEAM PBLs, it makes them worth doing. It makes them heartfelt, and it makes them important because we are making a difference. Yes, we, the teachers, are giving these things to our students that are important so that they can get out into our world and be the difference. Again, I'm Natasha Smith. Know that you can always get in contact with me. Jot my information down, and I hope to hear from you soon if you need me. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night. Just depends on where you're watching, when you're watching. Bye.